sports fans around the world, it's another day with Champions Arena with Bolaji, where we're going to talk about the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup going on in Australia and New Zealand. Well, before we start, or before I invite my panel, I just want to throw my prediction into the bin. It just went out of, everything just went off predictions. All the things I predicted did not win, did not get to the did not get to the semi-final. So in order to save me now, save me from this a bit of embarrassment, I'm going to invite my panel, my regular panel. First of all, I'm going to invite Fatima. Fatima, welcome to this program. Fatima is an ex-goalkeeper for Canada, for the national team. So, Fatima, did your predictions, where did it go? Tell me what happened.
Okay. Well, in honesty, I can say this. It's anybody's game. Alongside, I think all of us as the panel, we were saying Japan. And Japan and Sweden, wow. I would have to say that was one of the best games I have seen. Because the goalies, honestly, if it hadn't been for the Japanese goalie, I honestly believe Sweden would have took it 5-0. That game was just incredible. And Spain and Netherlands, my predictions was definitely Spain. But, others were going for Netherlands. I have to say this is going to be the best World Cup because it's anybody's game. France is out, Japan is out, the Netherlands is out, and Colombia advances. Great.
No, Colombia didn't advance.
Sorry, Spain. It was Spain. Spain that advanced. Amazing game. That's all I can say. Yeah. And this will be really, really, really good.
Let me invite Peter first, secondly, to now tell me about his own opinion, his predictions. I'm going to take everybody because I said I'm going to hold you responsible for your predictions. So tell me what happened, Peter. What happened?
To think that I did come here to brag, I told you so. Yeah.
That's why we're all wearing blue. We're in the calm, okay?
Okay, then. The game between was it Netherlands and Spain?
Yes.
That game I said would go anywhere, and then I did expect Spain to win, and they won. The game between Australia and France.
Yes.
I just don't know what happened there. I just didn't think Australia would beat France. But they took the game to France and dominated. I mean, the home advantage issue was there. But still, you don't expect that to deter France in any way. But the game that took me by surprise more than anyone else was the one between Japan and
Sweden.
Sweden, yes.
I mean, the Japanese had won our hearts with their style of play. We'd all come here talking about them, saying what a unit they were, and we could not even mention any star player that stood out in the team. We just knew they were a team. But here was Sweden, who seemed to have done their homework on the team. And then they scored one, and then scored another, and this match had all the ingredients of what we saw in the final of the World Cup in Qatar, when Argentina played France. For the first 70 or so minutes of the game, we had Argentina dominating, and then within the last 20, see how Japan just sprung to life towards the end of the game. They left it too little, too late. They really, really woke up and they were playing like Japan we knew, but too much time had been spent and there was no way to get back into the game. And then England, Colombia looked like it was going that way. Who wasn't taken by surprise by that early Colombia goal?
Yes.
Before England realized, look, we are here for business. We can't let these people take this thing from us because they're going to laugh their heads off at home, laugh their heads off at us at home, and the English press is going to roast us. They knew what was at stake, and the thing is, it was just defensive blunders from the Japanese that gave the
Colombian.
Colombians that gave the game to England. Otherwise, we were all set for one of the biggest shock upsets of the tournament.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeremy, I'm going to bring you in because I was going to you would have been the last person that I would have brought in just because your England qualified. So what do you think about the match?
Oh man, I like what Peter was saying about the fact that I mean Colombia was just taking it to him, and that was just a fantastic special goal by Colombia to open it up. It was, yeah, I was getting a little bit frustrated about the fact that they had so much possession and England just they weren't doing anything in the last 30. And wow. And then the blunders, the goalkeeper, I don't know what the heck was going on there with that. That was just unbelievable to me that a goalie of her class would blunder that ball the way she did. But, if there's one thing we teach forwards all the time is keep going. You don't stop until that whistle's blown because you don't know what's going to happen. And so, I mean, good on them for getting in there and capitalizing right at the end. I think that really kind of took some of the wind out of the sails of Colombia. They didn't look quite as dominant in the second half. They were sitting back. They closed down Cicido's. Is that how you say her last name? Number 18.
Casado.
Yeah, she was a non-factor in the second half. They just took everything away from her. And I think the physicality, I mean, we were talking a couple of weeks ago, Fatima and I both, about a little bit of the roughhousing side.
Yes.
There wasn't any back down by England at all and quite frankly, neither was there any from Colombia. I kind of feel like some of the calls were a little suspect from the ref. I feel like there was some non-calls there that could have benefited both clubs. I feel like there was some cards that easily could have been shown on some of the fouls that weren't. And then the final goal, again, a little bit of a defensive blunder, and in they go, they score, they finish it. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that from a forward. And being somebody whose background is English, couldn't ask for anything more from from a team that you support. But Australia worries me.
Yeah.
In the next round. Holy smokes! Like I said it a couple of weeks ago, that home factor, right? Like you cannot take that out of the equation. The fans lifted them up. They played and did what they had to do. Maybe a little bit of, Fatima would love this, a little bit of Italian football going on there.
Yeah, man, like for sure.
Playing defensively, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
But yeah, it was good. Just some outstanding games, outstanding goals. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by who's left. I'm blown away that France isn't one of them. I figured Spain would be in there because they were looking so strong in the preliminaries, especially. The fact that Japan's not there, wow. Yeah, this is so much fun.
Yeah,
so good.
Taufik, what do you think? Because I'm going to ask questions about each of the matches later. What happened? I'm just asking for the general view of everybody. So, Taufik, what do you think happened? What's your take on the all quarterfinal matches? Oh, okay, you're muted, but now you're muted. You're muted. You muted yourself, Taufik. So muted.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good day, everyone. I thought I like the way the competition is going so far. We've experienced this kind of thing in male football, and it will be good for us to have it in female football too. If we call some people powerhouses, yes, I know have to end at one time or the other. USA has reigned for a long time. Where are they today? So,
I can't hear you at all, Taufik.
You said you can't hear me?
Peter, did you say anything?
Hello?
Oh, go ahead,
Peter, did you say
Taufik.
I
something?
can't hear you. I can't hear you at all. Your audio is not clear at all. I can't hear you.
Okay, so
So
Taufik,
can
can you
others
speak
hear me?
louder? I can hear Taufik.
Fatima, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sweetie.
Your
Yes.
audio is not clear. I can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. We actually can hear him. Jeremy, can you hear him?
Yeah, it's a little bit muffled, but I can
Yeah.
understand what he's saying.
Okay, but I can hear him. So can you
Yeah.
speak louder, Taufik, please?
Okay, like I was saying, I hope you can hear me now. I said I like the way the
It's
competition is
not about
going
the
so
sound. It's
far.
not about the loudness. I
Is
can't.
screeching?
His audio is not better. It's better now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Taufik, just
Yeah.
speak.
Better.
Maybe tell Peter whatever you said.
Okay.
It's gone again.
So what I was trying to say is that there are no more menials as far as football is concerned. We've experienced it in male football. Now we're having it now. Japan is out. America is out.
Yes.
Germany is out. So out of those that are left now, who are the people that we think will take the day for the semi-finals? Spain is good. They play like a team. I like them. As far as I'm concerned, I'm still not impressed with the English team. Everybody has rated them much higher than what they are. And I won't be surprised when we get to the semi-final, anything goes. Australia has been very consistent despite us beating them. They've brushed up their game. They are a bit tactical now and they are more determined. And like Peter said, the home support is also going their way and they are using it to their advantage. I am looking forward to a very, very exciting semi-final match. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now, Robbie, what is your take on the matches?
Good once again. Looking at the quarterfinal game, it's just drama unprecedented because I think the two matches or the two fixtures that drew my attention was the Japan Sweden fixture. This was one fixture I called and I said Japan was going to qualify. But looking at how the Swedes played that match, it was just evident that this is one team that has a tactics or that has practice going into their matches. And looking at how they were able to keep the Japanese quiet, it just tells you that this team is also one of the very few teams in this tournament that plays as a unit. Earlier on in the tournament, a friend of mine and I we spoke, and he said he doesn't like how the Swiss play. And I told him that I like how they play because they have one tactics going into most of their games, and they stick to it. They believe so much in it that they do not change it for any reason, despite whatever it is the opponent throws at them. They are defensively, they are very, very solid. And we saw how their goalkeeper more or less was the hero against the United States of America. And of course, in this game against Japan, they were also able to keep things tight in every department of the field. And unfortunately for Japan, they had a penalty in that game, but they lost it. That was around the 70th, 21st minute. If they had scored that penalty, they probably would have been able to keep themselves in the game when they scored in the 7th minute or thereabouts. But it is football. The conversion rate for penalties in regulation time or in regular time in this game, in this competition generally has been terrible. Looking at even the first, looking from the group stages. In the group stages, there were about 8 penalties, and 4 of them were missed, and 4 were converted. So it tells you how abysmal penalty kick has been in regulation time in this tournament. Then the game that more or less blew me away was the Australia France game. Also, I called that game saying that France was going to qualify. But for Australia, it has been very impressive how they have played and how they have taken this tournament so far. They have taken this game, they have taken it a game at a time. And I think the loss to Nigeria more or less changed their perspective towards this particular tournament. Going on their first game where they won, they thought, oh, okay, more or less maybe they could just ride over every other thing. But after that loss to Nigeria, the tactics of the team generally changed. The shape of the team generally changed. And I can say I'm so impressed with the whole back four of Australia, including their goalkeeper. And it tells you how compact, how disciplined, and how much concentration the whole of the back four, including the goalkeeper, put into every game. The game against
Mhm.
France, they did not give defense any room for them to operate at all. And the goalkeeper for Australia, that's our goalkeeper Arnold, was very, very impressive throughout that game, including the penalties. For the penalties, 20 spot kicks were taken, 13 converted, one was missed, that was by goalkeeper Arnold, and six of them were saved by the goalkeepers. That is for both France and Australia. So it tells you the quality of the game we saw. And looking at the Australian game again, it just tells you that that game could have gone either way. France had their opportunities, but they just could not hold their nerve to get themselves over the line, and they ultimately paid the price. For England against Colombia, I think England's experience at the end of the day was what saw them through, because Colombia scored very late in the game. Nobody saw it coming. But going forward, England ultimately paid the price. The goalkeeper's error was more or less, just like Jeremy rightly said, was that incident that took the winds out of their sail, and England were more or less able to capitalize on it. And I just out Lauren James, and that is one lady that has been the star of the show for them. So going forward, I don't think they are going to miss her. If she comes back in the finals, that is, if England makes the finals, well, let's see if she's going to play. But I really don't think they can miss her, because it just tells him that without this lady, we can still grind out our win. We always say they will always find a way, or they find ways to win their to win their games. And sometimes that is just what football demands of teams or of clubs. You just have to find a way, no matter how bad, no matter how pretty it looks like, find a way to get all 3 points. And that is what England did in the course of the quarterfinals against Colombia.
Yes, viewers, you're still watching the Champions Arena with Bolaji, where we're discussing the quarterfinal matches, and we're going to discuss the semi-final matches, and we're going to make descriptions. I have with me Fatima, who is an ex-goalkeeper. I have with me Peter, who is a writer and an ardent fan. He has published many children's books. I have Robbie, who is well-known sportcaster in Nigeria. I have Taufik, who is an ardent fan and a very well-known commentator. And I also have Jeremy, who is a Canadian coach, just like Fatima is a Canadian ex-goalkeeper for the national team. So we're going to continue again, because I want us to take each of the matches that we are so surprised. Fatima, I want you to just pick one of those matches that has really, really surprised you, and you're just one match that
Okay.
you're saying that this is my favorite of the semi-final. We're still talking about the semi-final matches,
Yes.
but this is the one that I'm so impressed, or I'm so shocked to watch,
Okay.
because I am so shocked. Maybe the one that England played against Colombia, it was 50-50 for me. I was expecting Colombia to win, but all other matches,
Yeah.
it's a shock. The matches shocked me, all of them. So just pick one that you think
Okay.
is interesting or is a shocker.
Okay. I would have to say Japan and Sweden. That game there. I think all of us as a panel, we were obviously. Well, I was kind of more convinced towards more of the Japan side. So I would have to say, at first the game, for I don't know if you know the saying choppy. The game was very choppy. I think because Sweden was trying to figure out how to break Japan's defense. Because Japan, I mean, what I really watched that game is that I agree with Robbie, probably Peter, how they work as a unit. Like Japan, the one thing, when you take one shot on Japan, they will come back with maybe 5 or 6 shots. Like this is one team that does not let that ball rest, right? And the Japan, when there was a handball that was in the goalie area, and which gave the Sweden, because Sweden was the dominating. I have to say, like Sweden through that whole tournament. I mean, obviously Japan is an unfight. Like the team will continuously fight, but once Sweden broke their weakness in that, one of the handballs from the Japan, it awarded I believe that number 16, okay? And she when she completed that one goal, I believe that set the tone for Sweden. And then the Japan, one of the penalty kicks, I can't remember. I think it was Arashi, number 19. Well, she missed the penalty kick, and then I believe in a few other times of her attempts that she had shot on the net, hit the crossbar, twice actually. So overall, I mean, I have to say, like, because I am a goalie, and you cannot win or lose whatever without that goalie. And I would say that the Sweden goalie through the whole tournament, she has been my number one eye catcher. Very on point. She had saved so many brilliant balls from Japan and the other games before. I would say that she would be, like, out of the goalies, the MVP, because she is definitely a very strong individual. And just the communication with Sweden, like, the one good thing I could say about their team is they can collapse in. Like, I find in women's soccer, we have a tendency to play in the middle, right? Whereas a lot of, like, in the men's leagues, they're, as they say, more skilled. They use the wings wide, so they use the lines. And what I do realize about Sweden, like, they basically conformed to the Japanese playing, and they were the dominating team. And again, I honestly believe, from what I counted, Sweden should have taken that maybe 4 or 5, maybe 4, if that, for sure, because they were definitely strong in finishing and their passing. I mean, again, it was choppy at the beginning, but I think after when that first goal came through, and yeah, overall, Sweden, I'm shocked, but not surprised, because the Swedish programs for any sports, hockey, basketball, volleyball, soccer, Europeans, right? And this is where I would say where this tournament is. The 4 last teams are all European. It brings it back to the traditional football. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to see the finishing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm still coming back to talk about the goalkeepers generally and penalty kicks. So, Peter, you live in England. What do
Yeah.
you think? So, which of the matches do you want to pick as the one that is surprising, a shocker, or you enjoyed? Oh, Peter, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you take that again, please? Because everybody's echoing. I'm only getting everybody's in bits and pieces.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear
What
me?
I'm saying is that all the yes, I can
Yes.
hear you. The quarterfinal matches. What I'm asking is, which one did you see as a
Yeah.
shocker or interesting? Just pick one that you find that is interesting, that you really want to talk about. Whether it's what the person that you chose lost or won, the team you chose lost or won. Which one? Okay, we'll come back to
Okay. Please,
Pete.
before
Okay,
I
can you
start, I
hear?
have to be sure everybody can hear me.
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I just need to be sure of that. Okay. I'm going to start by saying that of the four quarterfinal games, the one I enjoyed the least was the one between Spain and the Netherlands, and that is saying a lot, because that game in itself was exciting. So for that to be the one I enjoyed least, then you can imagine what the other 3 must have been. And then from those 3, I'm going to go with the very same choice that Fatima made: the game between Sweden and Norway. In fact, that was the second game of the day. Why do I keep saying Sweden and Japan? Sorry.
Sweden and Japan. So yeah.
That was the game I was really looking forward to, because I really, really, yeah, yeah, I really, really wanted to watch the Japanese, because I really enjoyed them, And like I was saying, it seemed very much like the Swedes had really, really done their homework on the Japanese. They knew what to expect from this free flowing football, was what Japan brought to the tournament, and I expected them to totally dominate and Swedes. But Sweden came ready for them, gave them everything, dominated the game. And I was saying to myself that by the first half, that look, if Sweden wins this game, much as I predicted Japan would, if Sweden wins this game, they would have thoroughly deserved it because they are giving everything to the Japanese
Mm.
to the degree that even after the match had been played, after the Swedes had won the game, the Japanese themselves knew that this was a game for them is the aspect of doing things for the cameras. They were not going to do that. They let out their emotions. Normally when a team loses, and especially because they are women, you see them crying and being consoled. But
Yes.
normally what you have are controlled tears, controlled emotions. Japanese was not like that. They cried like babies. They let it all out in just the way I would have expected from them, even the way they
Yeah.
lost that game.
Yeah.
They didn't think they would lose. They didn't want to lose. They wanted to go further in the tournament. And Japan is among that list. This was supposed to be their time. And then I really, really felt for them. I felt for them. They let it all out. They cried in just the way any little girl would because they know they had lost something that was within their grasp. They don't do controlled tears. They don't do controlled emotions. They let it all out. That again
Thank
was
you.
part of what made the tournament so exciting.
Okay. Thank you so much, Peter. Viewers and listeners, I think there's a delay. Yes, there's a delay because we're on three continents. We are calling from North Africa. My analysts are calling from North Africa, calling from Africa, North America, calling from Africa and Europe. So there's a big delay in some of the comments. So we are sorry. We'll correct that next time. Thank you so much. So we continue. Jeremy, what do you think?
So
Pick
yeah,
one team.
it's
Pick
the
one team
non-famous
and
guy on the
choose.
panel. So here's my game. Like, honesty, I never ever would have expected Australia to beat France. That like the way France was dominating games, the way they were able to put goals in the net at will, it seemed at times in the preliminary rounds. I just did not see that coming. Good on Australia for doing what they did. They got to be super proud of their Matildas. That's amazing for them and for the country. I think the one thing that I'm finding just so attractive about this World Cup, even the men's World Cup too, is that countries that really weren't expected to do what they did are doing it. And that means that you've got a whole country backing you that hasn't backed you before. So this is only good for football, right? It is just absolutely amazing. Our country right now, let's get the Pro League going. Shout out to Christine Sinclair and her group there that are trying to do what they can to try and get the Women's Pro League going here in Canada. We need it. We need it desperately, because if there's anything that's being shown right now, the teams that have pro players playing for them are the teams that are sitting there right now winning, right?
Yeah.
And that's amazing testimony right there that we need pro leagues in all of our countries, and we need them. I'm not talking about, we already know there's established men's pro leagues. I'm talking about women's pro leagues. We need those established, and it makes it even better when you can have an established pro league in your country, because even in our own country, Canada, like you travel from one coast to the other coast, that's almost 4 hours, 4.5 hours if you're going from the tip of one side of Canada to the other. That's a 4.5 hour time change that you're dealing with. So even that's difficult. But then when you put it in a situation where they've got to go to Europe to play, then come back to Canada and maybe play in Alberta, right? They're playing, say, in England, and let's say it's 5 o'clock in England. Well, that's 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the afternoon in our country here, right? Where we are in Ontario, and then it's 2 hours even beyond that. So that's really taxing on a player. So we need to really develop those leagues in a big way. But yeah, going back to your question, I'm just blown away by what Australia was able to do. France just didn't have any answers for them. There was some brilliant goaltending. Shout out to the goaltending, certainly on that side, to take it as far as they did in the shots as well. Wow, that was remarkable to see, and my applause goes out to Australia for what they're able to accomplish so far.
Taufik?
Well, the match that really caught my attention, like Jeremy said, is the Australia-France match. He used the word bulldozing, which is exactly what France has been doing all along. They've been scoring left, right, and center, and everybody just assumed that they will be in the final. And they were good for it, because all the previous matches, they didn't win with luck. They won convincingly. But against Australia, things just didn't work out. Their plans just went awry somewhere along the line. They tried, but maybe the Aussies had more to win for than France. But I'm also surprised by the Sweden-Japan match. I give it all to Japan. They've been good at this thing for long. They play fluid football, and you love watching them. And you look at that, this is the kind of thing I want to watch in the finals or in the semi-finals. So, but the Swedes were more tactical, the way I saw it, and I believe that Sweden could reach the finals. Thank you.
Okay. I know that there are strong leagues, pro leagues in England, Sweden, Spain, Australia. We know about their strong women leagues, and that's what, like Jeremy said, is lacking in Africa and lacking in North America to an extent, because most of the teams that qualified now that are in the semifinals have their players. Most of the players play either in the European League and some in the Australian League. Robbie, what do you think about the matches that have been played? What is your comment? Which one do you like? Which one you disliked? Which one surprised you? Which of the matches you enjoyed?
Well, I will not talk about the games I disliked. I think I'll focus more on the game I really enjoyed, and that was more or less the game between Australia and France. Like I said, I wasn't expecting much from the Australians going into this game. But I think at the first 20 minutes, I had to reassess how I saw the Australian in that particular game. They were compact. Sam Kerr did not start the game. She came in as a substitute. And when she was seen on the touchline warming up, that was by the fans of the country. They were all on their feet cheering for her to come in. And that just tells you the impact of Sam Kerr and how big of a star she is in Australia. And coming into that game, her presence changed the dynamics of the game. Looking at the way of possession, France had the lion's share of possession, and of course the Australians were not bothered because they knew that France were not direct in their attack. France were playing more from the wing, and of course they were trying to more or less put the ball in the air, which the Australian goalkeeper dealt with very well, and the Australian defense also dealt with very, very well. So, like I said, in that game, in the second half, I just said to myself, well, Australia might have a chance here. Going into the second half, I knew that Australia were actually going to play and make sure that they forced that game into penalties, because there was no way they could actually get going up in attack because of how much France was dominant in possession. And that practice paid off for Australia, because, like I said, the first cut kick that was taken by France was lost. The goalkeeper caught it. So that more or less sent out a signal to the French players that they had more or less of an Herculean task on their hands. And ultimately, like I said, after we were done with the normal 5 spot kicks that we know penalties to require, we had to settle down for another extra 10 kicks. That is 5 apiece from both Australia and France. and you could see the whole drama, the whole topsy-turvy of how it was. The fifth penalty, France lost their fifth penalty, and the honor was left to the Australian goalkeeper to become the hero of the day. And she also lost her fifth kick. And of course, she played it and it hit the woodwork. And that led us to extra penalties that, like I said, no one saw 20 spot kicks coming in this game. And I think if we look at the stats, this should be more or less one of the highest amount of spot kicks taken in Women's World Cup history. Because I don't think they have ever been 20 spot kicks taken in a penalty shootout. So it tells you how very tight the game was. It tells you how very intense the game was. For other teams that played and qualified, Spain's match was more or less very, very straightforward, even though I said the Netherlands were actually going to beat them. Also, looking at England, Colombia on paper, England is more or less the heavyweight on paper against Colombia. So definitely you would want to give them that benefit of the doubt that they will qualify for the next round and of course the next stage as it is. Sweden, Japan, it was a little bit tough to call looking at how Japan had played in this tournament so far. But well, the Swedes, they were really not ready to actually more take anything for granted, and they were able to get those two quick fire goals that more or less put them in pole position for the semi-final. So for me overall, I would take the game between France and Australia as my own game of the quarterfinals that saw a lot of drama. Yes, it was goalless at a normal time, but the penalty kicks was more or less what is going to make this match one of the most memorable matches in World Cup history.
Thank you so much, Robbie. And I'm going to ask Fatima, who is a goalkeeper. I know we want to move forward with this program, and I'll just take some answers and put questions to just few people, and then we move forward to the semi-final section. So, Fatima,
Yes.
I want to ask you, normally I don't like watching penalties because I don't like any side crying at the end of the day because they've lost penalties. I don't agree with Peter that said women cry more. I've seen men bawling.
Oh
So
yeah,
I don't agree with
yeah.
Peter on that. There is only women that cry much, are emotional when we lose. But it's okay. So Fatima,
Yes.
what do you think about this penalty? I watched the Australian penalty against France. I thought France would win the match. So then it went to the extra time and everything, and it got to the penalty shootout. So what do you think about the penalties with the Australia match, the Australian and France match, as well as the other match that went into penalties that I thought should have been won?
Okay. Well, I think we kind of, when we left our last podcast, I was saying that one out of the 4 teams or so would probably end in penalty kicks, right? I think we all kind of agreed, like, out of the 4 matches there, that one and one would have come through. My take on penalty kicks, and maybe this, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'll attempt it. Here's the thing about penalty kicks, as a goalie. Now, and I get this asked to me all the time. Does the goalie guess? Does the goalie really know where it's going? Well, for me, as a goalie, and I'd have to say, like, one of my extra specialties is penalty kicks is very hard it's hard to score on me. Why? Well, as a goalie, when you pay attention to the whole game, right? And I'll quote Anthony Camacho, Jeremy. I was taught what is called the compassing. So what is a compassing is kind of like doing like a half moon in your net. And so each point when you're compassing, you're watching the game. Now, you have 90 minutes where, as defenders, forwards, all right, they are attacking the goalie. So if that goalie is paying attention to anyone that's shooting on them, all right, and it ends up 0-0 or even 1-1, and you go into penalty kicks, well, as a goalie, I already know at least out of 5 of those players that are going to come up and shoot on me, at least 3 of them, the whole entire game, they have been taking shots on me left and right. So I already know who is shooting on me. So when it comes down to that actual penalty, right? Obviously the top players you're going to have be in the top 5. Well, I already know out of those top 5, 3 of them have been taking shots on me all the time. So here is the question. Now, is it hard for that goalie to feel pressure? No, I've never felt pressure because you should be scoring on that net, right? But the pressure is more on that player that's taking the penalty shot. Because if you're going to take that same shot that you've been shooting on me through the whole game, and you're coming up and taking a penalty, well, I already have you beat because I'm going to expect that you're going to take that shot on me because that's the comfortable shot. Now, when these penalty shots are taken, then you can see when any player changes their shot, well, that's where that goalie guesses because I'm going to assume that you are going to take that same shot that you've been taking to me on the whole entire game, and the pressure is on you. So penalty kicks, it matters who that person that's taking that shot. Can you fake out that goalie and change up that shot? So that's where I leave it. So it really depends on the actual goalie. I mean, the kicker, yeah, you're supposed to make that shot. But if you're a goalie that is very on point, then you can guess, not guess, but you'll know out of those 5 shots, at least 3 of them is going to be the same that they've been taking on you. So I don't know if that answers that.
Yeah, you're spot on. Yes, you are. Thank you, Fatima. Jeremy, I'm going to take you up on this as a coach. So, do you think there is a mistake made or mistakes made by coaches when they're choosing the people who's going to take the spot kicks or the goalkeeper? Because I know one of the matches, the goalkeeper was changed at the last minute. I think goalkeeper was France, was changed so as to be able to stop the kicks when playing against Australia, because the goalkeeper was changed at the last minute.
No.
And then Robbie, I know Robbie mentioned the other time that one of the Nigerian players that took the first kick against England was a mistake by the coach, that she had not warmed up. So do you agree that the coaches make the right decisions, that decisions about spot kicks are made by the coach and coach alone? The coach is responsible for whether a kick is lost, a penalty kick is lost, or a penalty kick is scored. So what do you think, quickly, so that we can move to the semi-final matches?
So I think to a certain degree, yes, as a coach, you need to read your players. You need to read the situation as to who you think is most confident, right? But at the end of the day, it's still the player going up there and taking the shot. You can't put everything on a manager just because the manager makes a decision on things. I agree with you from the standpoint that if I'm remembering what you're talking about with regards to Rashford coming in, he had not, like, he'd spent 2 minutes in the game and that was it. And then they're putting him in a situation where he's got to shoot for a penalty shot in front of the world stage. Okay, that was a mistake. He should have been brought in much, much earlier to get into the game, to understand the flow of the game, but more than anything, to get his head out of what he's actually being brought in the game to do, right? Because as a former player, I know too, if you've been in the match the whole game, yeah, you're tired physically and mentally, right? But you're still in the game.
That's right.
And if you are brought into a match for one specific reason because you are good at goal scoring and you're going to go up there and take a penalty shot, well, if I haven't had an opportunity to go from that adrenaline peaking moment in my life to walk onto that pitch to now being a part of the game and that no longer being in my head, well, yeah, that is the coach's fault for doing that. 100%. I agree. I would say 100% that is. But when you've got your set players and you're reading those players and you're looking at them and they're giving you feedback too and telling you how they feel in the moment. If I've got a player come up to me and go, "Coach, don't put me in there," I'm not putting that player in there. I don't care how good of a goal scorer they are. I'm not putting them in there because they've already checked out, right? So there's a level there that you definitely need the manager's support on, and you definitely need to, hold them accountable for certain situations. But beyond that, though, once you've given your 5 in, that's your 5, and they got to go out and do what they got to do, right? And a manager has no control if that ball's sailing way over a net or going way wide. I don't care how much psyching the goaltender does to you, jumping back and forth and waving their hands and staring you down and all this kind of stuff. You put that ball that far away. Oh yeah, no, that's not the manager's fault. That's that player. All on them. So
Okay.
yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that answers my question, and that's a lot. Actually, I was talking about the comments about from Peter and Robbie about the Nigerian player that took the first penalties, which I don't know
okay.
which you took against England, but the Rashford too, I remember. So
Yeah.
I mean, you don't do that. Just a player has not warmed up, then you bring him in. Of course, he's not really ready, maybe psychologically and physically.
Yeah.
So thank you. We've talked about the quarterfinals. I like the Colombian goal. I felt the goalkeeper made a mistake against England, the Colombian goalkeeper, the first goal. And I felt I should have read the second goal very well. But I'm happy, Jeremy is happy that his team won. Okay.
Had at least one right.
Yes, you won. Whatever. Whichever way you won, England won. Okay. Now, I'm going to, Peter, we're moving to the semi-final matches so that we don't... the quarter-final matches are done, gone, dusted, and now let us talk about the semi-final matches. Okay, Peter, what are you looking forward to next round? The
why start with me?
Why start with you? You want me to start with somebody else?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will.
I don't want to have to predict anymore.
You don't want to do what? Let me know.
I said I don't want to have to predict anymore after what happened this weekend.
You are still going to predict at the end of the game. Okay, Taufik. Semi-final matches.
He's like that. How he's gonna bow out.
Taufik, what do you think about the next semi-final matches?
Spain will be meeting who?
Spain will be meeting Sweden.
Wow.
On Tuesday. Yes.
Spain, Sweden. Well, I think Australia is on a run, and I see them beating England. But Spain, Sweden, wow. I can't put my neck on the block for that. It could go either way. That's my prediction. It could go either way. But I give an edge to Australia over England. Thank you.
My analysts are so careful to predict. I don't take it. I mean, they're not ready to stick their neck out for anybody. But I'm still going to hold you to the prediction at the end of the program. So you're just delaying your take on everything. Robbie, please, can you tell me about what you think about the semi-final matches?
Okay, for Spain and Sweden, I'll stick out my neck for Spain. Why? I'll stick out my neck for Spain because they will want to boss possession going into this game. And looking at how the European circuit is, Spain is one top team in Europe. Yes, they did not more or less make the cut that was during the last Euros that was won by England. But I think with this tournament and with what they've been able to see so far, they would want to take the game to Sweden. Sweden will more or less want to absorb the pressure and hit back at Spain on the counter. But I think the Spanish goalkeeper will actually have so much to do on that day. And of course, let us not forget the fact that Spain has a lot of firepower in their ranks to more or less change the dynamics of the game against the Swedes. These teams are teams that know each other very well because they play more or less, if you allow me to use the word, they play year in, year out in Europe. And of course, they know that Spain is not just one country you trifle with. So going into that first semi-final game, I will stick out my neck for Spain to get one over Sweden. But I will also not just more or less take my eyes off Sweden just yet because they might actually spring up a surprise. England against Australia. I would want to go with the Aussies over this one. And the reason why I'm going with Australia is because of nothing less than their defense. Their defense is a solid defense. And their goalkeeper is one goalkeeper you will want to have on your team as a coach. She is confident. She is very good. And her concentration level throughout the game is 150%. She doesn't take chances. She communicates well with her defense. And everybody in the back fight, including the goalkeeper, everybody trusts each other so much and they do their job efficiently. The defenders don't take any chances, neither does the goalkeeper as well. So I believe that against England, they would want to fancy their chances. There is no Lauren James, so that tells you that more or less the English cannot play through the flank where Lauren James loves to operate. And as it is right now, the Australians will not mind giving possessions giving the possessions to the English, and of course let them have the ball as much as they want. They also would like to hit England on a counter, and I think that game probably might get stretched into extra time and possible penalties.
Oh, okay. Robbie, Jeremy, I know where your loyalty stands. I know where your support is. But can you just talk about the semi-final matches? What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask for predictions at the end of the day, whether Peter likes it or not. I'm still going to ask you guys about the prediction. But right now, I just want you to just analyze or what you think we are going to see. What do you expect in the semi-finals?
Yeah, I think you see from Australia. I think you're going to see much of what they did in the game against France. It worked well for them, obviously, right? I agree with Robbie on the sense that they communicate well at the back. The back four definitely do. I think, I got burned on Australia again, right? Like Canada plays them. I'm putting my neck out. I'm saying Canada's going to beat them if they played the way they played in the second game against Ireland, and we all know what happened there. So with England, I feel like without the creativeness of James, has been in almost on every single goal, with the exception of obviously the last match, has been in on every single goal basically, with the exception of one. Prior to last match, and she's not going to be there for this one. So they lose a lot of creativity in the midfield that can help break down that back four. So I think that's going to make a real tough situation. I don't think that their goaltender is going to Australia's goalkeeper is going to make the kind of mistakes that Colombia made. She's just, mentally stronger player. And I also feel like there might have been something going on with her prior to her actually being pulled off, right? So, that could have contributed to that situation as well, obviously. But I unfortunately feel like this one's going to penalty kicks. I really do. I just don't see enough with England from a creativity in the last 30 that they can distribute that ball. They do play the wings nicely. They do cut it across. They've got some height in the middle. But I don't know. In the other match with Spain and Sweden, I agree with Robbie from the standpoint. My thought process on Spain is that Sweden's not going to be able to break them down the same way that they broke down Japan. I think Japan came out expecting that they were going to win and expected that they were going to roll them over. And when they didn't know how to come back from that. They were pretty much lost, with the exception of scoring a goal. But it's still, by the end of the day, I think Peter said it well at the beginning. It was too late at that point. Too little, too late. So I think that's going to be a strong match. But I think the way that I've seen Spain create, especially in the midfield, and they seem to adjust really well from playing the outside wings to actually playing in the middle a little bit, then drawing it back out again to the wings, and having that creativity around the 18-yard box around that area. Man, they let some shots go that are just gorgeous goals this year, and so I kind of feel that they're going to have a little bit of an edge, and I don't think that Sweden is going to be able to combat them the same way that they did against Japan, because I don't think that Spain's as predictable in the way they play as Japan was.
Oh, that's nice. Peter, very good analysis by Jeremy. Now, Peter, like I said, I'll still ask everybody, but what do you think about the matches that are coming up? the ones that are coming up in the semi-finals?
Okay, it's a very, very interesting situation because now you have teams that have fought very hard to be where they are, and it didn't come easy. Um, uh, Sweden, you know, had a fight on their hands when they took on a very good side, and they beat them to get there. Australia went to the wire with France, and Australia had that had that 11th, sorry, had that 12th man going for them, which was the home advantage. I mean, you could hear it all over the arena.
Yep.
England, Colombia, we already knew we had a superstar team and an underdog, and everybody was loving the underdog in that game. But then it went the way football traditionally does, in spite of an early brilliant goal from the Colombians. And then finally we have Spain and the Netherlands, which was an even game in which one side had to carry the day at the end of the day. So these four teams that are in semi-final now, they fought hard to get there. So let's see now. Sweden is playing against who?
No, what did you say? I can't hear you.
Who's
Sweden,
Sweden playing
Spain.
against?
Okay,
Hello?
yeah, playing against Spain. There's a
I said
delay. Yes, Sweden against Spain, Australia against England.
Sweden is playing against Spain.
Yes.
Sweden against Spain, Australia against England. Okay, Sweden against Spain. From everything I've seen about the Swedes, I'm going to easily give that game to them. If Spain eventually beats Sweden, don't come back here and laugh at me because, like I said, I don't want to predict. But if I have to, I'm giving it to the Swedes because in the Swedes, I've seen a very good team, a compact defense, and a massive attack. I think Sweden will do it. Australia against England, I see that 12th man coming into play again for Australia. I think England has run its course at this stage. I think the Australians will triumph.
Okay. Thank you.
So what
Okay.
we're looking at is most likely an Australia-Sweden final.
Thank you so much, my panel and seasoned analyst. You've done so well. Quickly, I want us to quickly look at this before I do the final questions about who do you choose, which teams do you choose to get to the finals. So, are you impressed by the spectators? I heard that the ticket sales have been the best so far in all the World Cup matches, the Women's World Cup matches we've had, that the tickets are so high, people are paying, the stadium is being filled up, and even when Australia is not playing. So what do you think about the stadium being filled, and do you think that will help Australia get to the finals? Because the support has been outstanding. Even when the penalties were being taken, even when Sam Kerr came to the field, everybody was shouting. So what do you think about that, Robbie?
I think for the ticket sales, before the World Cup started, the projected figures have been something that amazed even FIFA themselves. Australia is one football crazy country because they are one of the dominant forces when you look at the Confederation talking about Oceania/Asia. Australia is one of the most dominant countries in that region because if you're looking at Asia, you're looking at Japan, you're looking at South Korea, and the next country you're going to call, besides those two names, is Australia. And of course, if you're looking at the Oceania region, we are majorly going to call on Australia because New Zealand is no football powerhouse, neither is Fiji, and of course, other countries in that region. So Australia is a football crazy country, And I think with the World Cup that they've been able to successfully host alongside New Zealand, it is more or less going to grow the game much more than what it is right now in the country. And don't forget that a couple of Premier League stars have also gone to the Australian Pro League to play. That is towards the dying or towards the end of their careers. So, and even at a point in time, the world fastest man, Usain Bolt, had a football trial with a club side in Australia. I'm trying to remember the name of the team. Usain Bolt had a football trial with them, so it tells you how attractive the Australian league is, and of course how the Australian crowd has been with the national team. The national team more or less is an embodiment of the Australian people, and they have come out en masse to support the team. And of course, looking at the fact that they're in the semi-finals, expect that the country will shut itself down to make sure that they support the team all the way to the finals. They have been vocal, they have been amazing, and of course that they have been able to give their energy to the team whenever they take to the field. And looking at New Zealand, I believe that there's this friendly rivalry between both countries, and it will also help New Zealand more or less draw up a plan where they can match Australia in the game of football. And New Zealand is more or less known for the game of rugby, and that is more or less the international sport that is played in that country. They are arguably the best country when it comes to rugby on the planet. And I think they will also want to diversify, looking at football as another sport that can put them on the map, aside rugby and more or less, if you take a look at it, maybe cricket, or yes, maybe cricket or so. So it tells you what the World Cup stands for both countries, and what it is set to do for them in years to come. But overall, it's been an amazing tournament, and I'm so sure that FIFA are very pleased with the fact that they've been able to take this World Cup for the first time. It has been hosted by two countries, and it has been a successful event overall. So, for both countries, I think Australia and New Zealand are more or less the biggest winners in this tournament that is off the field, because of one, the amount of facilities they've been able to develop, as well as the legacy it will leave when the World Cup leaves Australia and, of course, go to another country in the next episode.
Thank you, Robbie. And like I said, I'm impressed as a woman that the viewership is so high now, many viewership. So I like that much. That shows that people are getting more and more interested in women soccer, football. Anyway, our time is so fast spent. I would like to ask more questions, but I'll leave that to the next podcast. And I hope you viewers and listeners are really, really watching these matches, and we've piqued your interest in watching women football. So before we round off, quick question. And that's my putting you guys on the spot. First of all, I'm going to ask Fatima, who do you expect? Which teams do you expect in the final? Who do you think will win the semi-finals? And do we expect surprises, or do you think it will go to penalties? Oh, why? You're muted.
Okay. Am I
Yeah.
unmuted
Oh,
now?
you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. As I always say,
Sorry, what is your fault?
So just okay.
somebody
Continue.
coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to as I always say, because I'm a goalie, I love the penalties. I have to agree with the last two matches. I agree with Jeremy. I honestly believe that Australia and England will definitely end in some sort of a penalty. I do see that because you got two dominating teams, and I do see them in the penalties. And because Australia has been the host country, and with all the money and the publicity and the fans that are watching, and you're right, with it hosting in two countries, I believe that Australia will be in the final. Against Sweden and Spain, that game, I'm going to have to say, I mean, it can go either way, but I think it was Robbie or even Peter. I believe that Spain is going to take it by some fancy wicked shot. So I believe in the final, because they're fire. these fast, you say Usain Bolt. I find that a lot of the Latin countries, and European, but more so like the Latin countries, they have speed on their hands. So I do believe Spain and Australia will be in the final, and that there, I don't know. I'm gonna have to stick my neck, my whole body out, and say Australia because it's the host country, and I think that would be a grand finale for women's soccer for the host country to be the winner.
Okay, Taufik, what's your prediction?
Australia, England. I'll go for Australia.
Okay.
The second match, Sweden, Spain. It's difficult. My neck on the chopping block. Right. Let me give it to Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give it to Spain.
Okay, Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously know where my heart is.
Yeah.
I think I got burned on this before. I don't know. There's something telling me right now that Australia is probably going through, unfortunately
Yeah.
for England. But and I think in the Spain Sweden match, I'm going to stick with what I said earlier. I feel like Spain has really shown me a lot, and so I think I'm going to stick with them on that one.
Yeah.
I think, Peter, you've chosen who you think will go into final. Do you want to just reiterate it and just confirm that these are the people that will go into final, the teams that will go into the final, into the finals to play, the final to play?
Australia, Sweden.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Wow, I like that. I like that.
Australia, Sweden.
This is recorded. Good. Robbie, choose your own team.
Spain, Australia.
No, Spain, Australia. Okay.
Yeah.
We have diverse suggestions and predictions. So, viewers, listeners, make sure you take note of this and take us up on our next podcast. It's been an interesting program for me. I enjoyed everybody because we talked, and like I said, nothing will be edited. We are going to put this out the way it is so that it's not as if we've edited some things out. Even the technical issues that we have that will be corrected next podcast, we are just leaving it so that our audience, we want the audience that will just take us as we are. Wherever we have gaps or mistakes, that we are real. And that's what I enjoyed about this, my panel. Thank you, Fatima, the goalkeeper that is always talking about the goalkeepers. Peter, a writer that writes books and at the same time enjoys talking about football, and now join me talking about women's soccer. Jeremy, a coach that I know very well, and as being a player, I was a player before, and now gave us a perspective, telling us about the way the coaches see things. And then Taufik, who has been a commentator and a seasoned analyst. I enjoyed your analysis. Thank you so much. And talking about the sports the way you say it. I mean, it's real. Robbie, sportcaster. Yes, I know you have your own opinions and you have contributed well, your expertise. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all for coming to the program. Now, we're going to end this podcast on this note. Thank you so much, viewers and listeners, because I know some people are just listening, they're not viewing this podcast. So thank you for joining us. We're keeping it real. We're keeping it the way we feel. We're not experts or charlatans to say exactly what will happen. Well, we have put our hearts out, we have put our necks out to say what we think should happen. Please keep watching sports. Keep watching the women soccer. And please join me next podcast as you join the Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Please share. Until we meet next time, thank you. Have a great week. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, see ya.